Present.
Donnell?
Present.
Joe?
Present.
Tina? Present. All right, we're all here, and Alan's here with his pen in hand. Shall we stand? Let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
And to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
God,
God.
both with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Does anybody have any concerns about agenda adjustments?
I would like to add something to discuss under discussion.
Okay,
Lack of communication.
okay.
And I would like to bring up the issue of the Zoom meetings, the hybrid meetings.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, so we have the lack of communication and the hybrid meetings. Correct?
Is this being streamed on YouTube yet?
Yes. No. Sorry, no. Not working.
I hit record on the Zoom link.
Okay. I'm just getting messages about how they can't get on via YouTube.
Who are the people, the public that wants to come on?
It's hard to hear you, Tina.
The microphone's coming tomorrow.
Okay, but I can't hear, I didn't hear what Tina just said.
That better?
How's that?
A little bit, yeah, it's,
That microphone doesn't go to us, that goes to the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
So Audrey, could you explain again, please, what you were saying? It's hard for the people to get on.
No live YouTube up yet, that's all.
Oh. Kirsten's working furiously.
now if we were all Zoom, you could still do YouTube, correct? I mean, would it be easier? Or does it make,
Last
you know?
one here. She's got her hands full and pants to hold up at the moment.
that way you have just one format if you were doing YouTube instead of two.
I hear you, Wendy.
Yeah, yeah, I
Because
think
I could
it's,
hear you perfect. And that way you can just do the YouTube. So we'll talk about it when you want to, but being on this angle, it's a different experience.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, I agree. It's like it's very hard to hear Tina and Joe, and if we're all like in our little Hollywood Squares version here, we can see each other and we can hear each other all equally.
Correct.
Here's the one to start. It's having trouble connecting for some reason. So
And it's a little stressful when you have to shout to be heard.
Yeah.
Well, we can hear each other. I don't know if they can hear us as well.
Yeah.
We're just fine.
So that's where the, that's my big, my concern or complaint or whatever.
That second microphone will probably help.
Is there another microphone?
Yeah. You're right.
We don't have another mic anywhere.
no, I double checked with Avery before the meeting and he just got nothing. And that's why we had to order one. So the one that's coming tomorrow, we dedicated to the laptop so that those who are watching will be able to hear. What I can do is put up the Zoom link on the website. and people can join that way, and then we'll just broadcast via Zoom, because this
Okay.
is not working.
So that's not working. So can we hook this mic up to this computer?
No,
No.
that mic only works for this. Little
Wow, we're so
special.
specialized, we don't know what we're doing.
It is very special.
Okay. We're gonna have to survive tonight. So bear with us, okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you really well now.
Okay. I won't have a voice by the time we're done, but that's all right. All right, so we've taken care of agenda adjustments.
Yeah, you could also speak right into the mic. You hear that okay?
That mic isn't hooked to this. It doesn't make a difference.
Good try, Joe.
This is like some cops, is what this is
I
like.
was just gonna say that.
Okay, are we ready?
Minutes.
Now, I would like to see if you've read the minutes and see if anybody would like a motion to approve minutes for the December 15th meeting.
Boy,
I can't hear you.
no,
Tonight,
it's not.
If you would,
the minutes of the last meeting and make a motion to accept them.
I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Right.
I second.
Say that again, please. Is anybody making a motion to accept the minutes?
I have a motion from moderator.
I made the motion and then Donnell seconded it.
Can we move that?
You know, I suggest
Pull
that,
the whole cart. Pull
You
the
do-
whole cart. The whole cart
What?
can go.
why doesn't Tina and Joe just do Zoom with us right now? I mean, why are we doing this? They could just get a computer and do Zoom and we could all be on the same page.
Let's work with what we got, okay?
Can they do that?
If you want me to,
If
you want to
wanted
give me 10 minutes, I can set you each up with a laptop in another room.
Because that way it would be, this is ridiculous. We can't hear what you're saying and then you have to keep repeating. Why not just you guys be on
Okay.
Zoom at the school? And then we'll all be,
10 minutes, we're gonna have everybody on Zoom, and I don't want to hear another complaint,
okay,
all right?
right. Then we will be able to hear you. Okay, good.
We'll
hold Right.
the motion from moderator.
Yeah, we're gonna hold the motion from Audrey.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to drink of my coffee.
I'm gonna go check on my kids because my husband's not home yet, so they're,
That would be a good idea.
yeah.
I'll go make dessert or something, or, you
I'll
know,
Be
maybe I'll
back.
go watch the news.
Mark has one of those little drinks with an umbrella in it.
Mark,
what?
does your coffee have with an umbrella in it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, does your drink have an umbrella in it?
Wow.
Wow.
Does your drink have an umbrella in it?
No,
Oh, all right,
I have a school board meeting. I'm working.
gotcha.
Maybe later.
Oh, my God.
I think we'll all need one.
Give me a minute, I can get it on.
We were at the COVID-friendly House of Blues last night, and
What's
that was quite a good experience.
I got my phone.
Just be careful if you all join on your phone right next to each other. It's gonna cause some interference.
Joe could just drive home.
Right.
It's like, it'll take less time to do that than it will to be getting him a laptop. Oh.
I mean, is there a way to make the Zoom link open to the public? I know it's only supposed to be for us, and then people are supposed to join via the YouTube channel, but
Even Chris would like to talk on the action, one of the action items.
So some people,
You just put down action items. Denise.
Joe, you're gonna get feedback on your phone.
You would have to make your link public for the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
One thing at a time. As you said, the multitude shows the key anyway. You're gonna get feedback. You gotta do it on your phone.
We know who Michelle is now.
Oh, who is it?
Rick-
Michelle?
Michelle is our town manager.
Oh, that Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
I
Hi,
recognize the voice immediately.
We didn't get to see you, Michelle.
you're not going to either.
Shelley's desk, and we're gonna
Um,
sit
I'm
at
home.
Ah,
Kristen's desk.
oh my God, what's that noise?
Feedback?
Ooh,
I can't
Pretty
take it.
bad.
You didn't miss anything.
I heard that from upstairs and I thought it was you guys trying to signal me back down.
Like an annoying, like fire alarm sound or something.
It was pretty awful and very loud from upstairs with the door shut.
Wow. Yeah,
Sorry, I brought snacks. I haven't had dinner yet.
that's okay.
I'm not good at sitting still long.
No. Join
That's
the
where
Perfect
I
club.
for a
be in the
kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, that's right.
That's perfect.
Oh, my favorite.
Is that, who is doing that?
See how high tech I am. And then the paper.
Christine, what's the cutest thing the kids did today?
Oh, goodness. I have one little boy who thinks he's very businesslike. He's been writing with his little pen and his pad, and he's been writing down lots of his ideas for his next novel, basically. But he does this at free choice when he could be doing so many other things. He just sits there with his little paper and pen. It's so cute.
It is cute.
And he like puts it behind his ear when he's thinking. Just the little things.
Oh,
The
that's
next
cute.
Stephen King.
Yes. He just
How
made
many,
me
how many kids in the kindergarten class right now?
15 currently in the room with
Uh-huh.
us. We have the 2 remote.
Okay,
It's a pretty good sized class.
yeah, it is.
Hey, Christine, have you talked to any of your fellow K teachers that are doing 221?
Not recently. Do you mean just people I happen to know
Yeah, I'm saying,
or people in the Lakes region?
well,
Because
either one, people just that you've talked to that are doing 221. Because I think at that age level, it must be difficult because of the switch.
I think it depends on who you talk to and what their hybrid home days are like.
Mhm.
I would say most are really suffering with it because kids give a different side of themselves at home for learning readiness than they do, and my own children do the same.
Of course,
You've heard me talk about that.
yeah,
So I think for most homes, it's tough.
yeah. I just think in the consistency issue,
Yeah.
you know, how did they react to missing a week of school? Or
My
4 days?
students?
Yeah,
I have it actually in my quick little slideshow, but
oh, okay,
they did really well. I had a heavy return on all the home packets.
good.
Parents were really wonderful about it and kept their spirits up and sent me lots of video clips and pictures. So I've
That
been very
sounds
lucky.
great.
My families have been really supportive regardless of what we've gone through this year.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
I need it to be that way.
I think it really helped that it was 1 week and there was a finite time.
Yeah,
Instead of last year where it was kind of wide open and we
Yeah.
never knew and we ended up not coming back at all, but.
well, that's the
Mm.
thing. When Kirsten told me it was only going to be 5 actual school days, I went, oh, I can do this. We can do this.
Sure, of course.
We can do this.
We've been lucky on the dates, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Things are happening now.
Yeah, it looks like we have almost a full house.
We're almost there. We are.
Ooh, what is that noise?
Somebody's causing wretched feedback, but I don't.
Yeah. It's-
Probably me.
Oh, okay. Because you don't, maybe it's a phone?
You could be me.
Oh, okay.
Something happened to Tina.
So here's the video. All right, Tina.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Perfectly,
Okay.
Tina.
No, they can't hear me.
Yes, we can. We can hear
Hello,
you,
can you
Tina.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
I can't hear them.
Oh.
Can't hear them?
We can hear her.
Okay.
All right, here we
We're all
go.
good. We can go now.
All right.
So I'm just confirming, is there not going to be the live YouTube? Because I'm still getting messages for people who can't.
Right, she's gonna have to send out a Zoom link, and I don't know if she can do that tonight. There's enough craziness going on.
Well, weren't there some parents who wanted to be part of this?
Well, you told me, Wendy, that not many people were watching, so I
No.
thought not to.
It's a good thing.
Well, tonight, I'm a little embarrassed with Michelle in here, watching us
Well,
idiots.
Well, I think here's my point. I don't think the hybrid model is a good model for our meetings. It's not, Tina, we
I
could
know
not
it's
hear
not
you.
me, But I know, but I think everybody else works but you, and they could all be here.
I beg your pardon.
You don't work in the public like we do, like
It
Donnell
doesn't
does.
matter.
You know what I'm
Tina,
saying, Wendy?
we have to be able to have a consistent meeting where everybody can see and hear one another. And this is the vehicle right here. And tonight was proof.
I'm not gonna
We don't
argue.
have to be in the school, sitting there in the cafeteria with a handful of us on Zoom, not being able to hear you. So that's what happens. It's illustrating my point.
Yes, it is, Wendy, but looking at Donnell, you work with preschool children. Correct?
Yes, I also work with the very selfish, immature coworker, which is why I'm currently quarantining.
But that's what I'm saying. Okay, so tonight there's a reason.
You don't know, but the sound was an issue.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big issue tonight. The mask was part of it, but just our equipment is also
Right.
the other part of that. And we have to be able to hear each other.
Let's talk about this during discussion time
Yep, we gotta.
and
cool
go back
down a
to the
little bit.
agenda just for a suggestion.
You think?
Okay.
We have a
All right.
motion from Audrey on the minutes. We need to-
Audrey made a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting, the previous meeting. Do I hear a second on that or any?
I seconded that.
Thank you.
Okay. Calling the roll. Donnell,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Joe, and Tina, yes. So that's unanimous, Alan, that we've accepted the minutes of the December 15th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, are there any public comments, which apparently we can't do because we don't have them on? And that's due to a technology glitch tonight. Nobody's 100% perfect. So we'll apologize to the public for what's happened tonight, but we can't help it.
Put the link on the school calendar.
Where's Kirsten? She's standing on a head
Taking
somewhere.
the camera around so you can see the audience. However,
Okay.
that means everybody else is like, why are we looking at the ceiling?
Website or the school website?
Okay.
Kirsten?
Huh?
Have you put the Zoom link if people want to get on? Have you put that on the school website or?
On the website in a second, I was getting you guys set up first.
Right. Okay, so the public can join us as they go along if they so choose.
Yes.
I don't know how they're gonna know that it's on the website, but,
And this has been recorded for posterity.
okay. So the next thing we have are presentations, and I believe the first one is Barb with the food service report. Barb? It's all yours.
All right, make sure I'm in the right spot. Am I good right here?
Stand right here,
There you go. Stand right where Kirsten is. You're great.
in this little box right
Now I
here.
see me. Yep,
Now you see you?
gotta get out of the light.
Okay, there you go.
All right, well, nice to be here. I do have an update for food service. I've included some water issues within my food service report since I cover both of those. So, just wanted to give you an update on our free and reduced numbers.
Excuse me, I can't hear her very well. Could she get somehow closer to the microphone or whatever?
We're gonna do it in good.
That's much better. Get closer
How's
so we
that?
can hear. Much better.
Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you.
In the chair, without a mask, face that.
All right, nobody come near me.
Well,
Take that down. Okay, so I looked at the report, last time I came and did a report for you folks was last January. So I went back and I took a look at what I had reported at that point, and we did look at total enrollment and our free and reduced numbers. Our total enrollment as of the day that I pulled this was 116. Of that, we have 32 eligible free students, 13 eligible for reduced meals, and that is a total together of 40% of our total population. And then we have 71 paid students, or 62% at the paid rate. And actually, that 62% may not be correct. It's probably 60%. I don't know that I recalculated that. But the free and reduced are definitely correct at 40%. And then, so those numbers are a little bit down. It's a little harder this year because we're actually operating under the summer food service program, not the normal school nutrition program. So there's no eligibility requirements. We feed anyone who has, I put it, if you have teeth in your mouth, up to the age of 19, we feed everyone free of charge. So it's the hard part of that with our free and reduced numbers is trying to get people to apply when there's really not a reason to apply. Everyone's getting free meals regardless. So that may have affected it. However, in teaming with Kirsten and Morgan in the kitchen and Mark, I think we've made a pretty good effort to try to get most people to get in the paperwork who are eligible. So that's about where we are. Our numbers are just, that is where we are. I'll jump from there. I'm going to go into the equipment because the equipment part sometimes plays into that free and reduced number. Now, we were very fortunate this year. If you remember last year, I came to you and said, I think we need to replace the range and possibly the dishwasher. So we were able to apply for 2 grants this year. One is Full Plates, Full Potential, which is, and I want to just give you a little history of them. Full Plates, Full Potential is a coalition of community leaders, stakeholders, and advocates working to end childhood hunger across the state of Maine. And they do that, they were started in 2014 by John Woods and Justin Alfond, who at that point, I don't think he's in the legislature anymore, but he was in the legislature at that point. We had a task force to end childhood hunger. That was in 2014. I was fortunate enough to be on that task force. So I know everything that went into it and trying to identify how we could leverage what's out there for our children to get free meals to those kids who need those meals, to make sure that we don't have hungry children. So over the last 5 years, or since 2014, Full Plates, Full Potentials raises money, and they have a rolling grant program. So money comes in, it flows out, comes in, it flows out. So we applied for the grant to replace, that grant was to replace our Reach-In refrigerator, who began to show us signs of aging late this summer, the early part of the year. So we were at first granted a $3,000 grant, which the refrigerator cost us $4,400. They were able to grant us $3,000. And then a few months later, as their fundraising came in, they gave us the additional $1,400. So we got the refrigerator completely paid for, and that includes, it really wasn't much in the way of installation costs for that, but that would have included any installation costs. So it's an absolutely wonderful program out there. And one that is available to every school. The second grant we got, which was to replace the range, which was my highest priority, was the range cost us, oh, I got it right there. Cost us $5,024.56 was the amount of that grant. And that grant was for the range and for the installation costs, which there were some, because we had to change over some gas lines, get someone in to do that. So that grant, which is called an equipment assistance grant, normally in the past is saved. It's only available to those schools with a 50% or higher free and reduced rate. So we were very fortunate to be able to take advantage of that this year. It's not like that one's out there on a normal basis for us. So that was just like a blessing that we were able to apply for that one and got that $5,000 grant. So we've got two beautiful, nice pieces of equipment. The third piece of equipment that we're looking at replacing is the dishwasher. But at this point, we're good. And I think we can baby that dishwasher a little bit along with the hope that if the time comes when we do a renovation, we can meld that right into that process. So hopefully we'll be able to get a couple of more years out of the dishwasher. When we go to replace it, we will replace it. Instead of a low temp dishwasher that we have now, we will replace it with a high temp dishwasher, which is just more efficient, and we don't have to have as many chemicals, and it'll last longer. So that is where we are with equipment. So we had a real nice year for that, and we've got some good equipment that hopefully will last us the next 20 years or so. I guess let me stop there if anybody has any questions. Okay. I'm going to move on to our water. Well, first, I guess I'll touch base on staffing update. So Morgan and Tammy are now operating the kitchen. Morgan is getting more and more training as the months go on, and they are doing awesome. They're a wonderful team to work together. We have more scratch cooking. We have better inventory control, just because they go in and they look to see what we have and then create these home cooked meals with them, which are awesome. We've got a little bit more creative menu planning going on. Morgan's taking control of that and working well with the staff and the students to try to implement their feedback into that menu on a regular basis. And the last thing was the other opportunity we've been able to take advantage of this year is there's a free fish program. So the Maine Department of Education has connected with our fishing community out of Portland and has provided on a weekly basis, we can go get as much whitefish as we want. It's all filleted, it's mostly boneless, although we still kind of pick through it because it's usually pollock or haddock. And we've been able to take advantage of that. So we've taken that twice. Gone down to, we have to go into Portland to grab it, but it is so worthwhile. It's not only worthwhile for us, free, beautiful, fresh fish coming to us, but it's been a help for our fishing community. I mean, they're so grateful that we come and get that because their cutters are working, their fishermen are out there, and they're able to sell some more products. So it's been a real win-win. And Morgan and Tammy have been playing around with some recipes. I think this last time was last Friday. They made fish cakes. Wasn't last Friday, it was the Friday before. They made homemade fish cakes. Tammy won't give me the recipe, but she'll give me all the recipe. But
Fish cakes are delicious.
they were hit. Yes, she's a little She likes to hide some of those things.
Right.
They work delicious. So now we have to work on the kids' acceptability of fish. So that'll come slowly. We'll continue to work on that. This free fish program is the rest of the year and into next year. It does us no good if the kids just throw it away. So we have to work on that piece of it. And then I wanted to move into our water situation and where we are with water, which we're in an okay place.
Don't worry about me. Keep
Okay.
going.
So in September, we have, first off, the Maine Department of Health has a very stringent water program that I'm looking for the words of what the water program is, Maine Drinking Water Program, that tells us how much testing we have to do. I have to do testing for any kind of bacteria on a regular basis. Every few years, we test for lead and copper, and we have never had a high level before. This year, we got a high level of copper, not lead, but our copper level was exceeding what they call the either the standard or the action level that is acceptable, an acceptable action level. We were slightly above that. That sent out a trigger of, we got to do something. You can't just leave that be. And usually if you get high copper, you can get high lead. Our lead numbers were fine, however. So we had to dig into that a little more, do a little more testing. What it turns out, and part of this is just the natural process of wells. We've had a low water table, and that sometimes when the water level gets really low, there can be new veins that are all of a sudden feeding into our wells. And so that could have changed. What's changed is our pH. And the pH is the level of acidity in the water. So a low pH, our pH was testing around 6 or 6.2, which is pretty low. 7 to 8.5 is about 7 to 8 is where we want it to be. So the fact of having acid water in old copper pipes, it's just leaching some of that copper into the pipes. So it's leaching some of the copper into the water. So we need to now address that. So I've done one series of tests, which just confirmed the fact that we have a pH problem, which we have not had before. The second group of testing I'm about to do to see if we have mitigated it. But meanwhile, we have to come up with a corrosion plan, a corrosive treatment plan. And I'm fairly new to the water testing thing, only since I started working here. So I've reached out to a few other people. I've reached out to a Dunbar Water, who does water contracting, water testing. And they helped me to come up with a corrosive plan, which it looks like could be as simple as changing the filter. We have a filter, our water comes in the boiler room, and then as it comes in, it's held in tanks, and then it goes from the tanks through a filter that is simply to remove sediment. That's the only purpose of that filter. And then it goes through our system. So if we simply replace the sediment filter with a calcite filter, that will lower the pH. So it's a very inexpensive change. It's just, there's no equipment needed. It's just simply this filter instead of that filter. The filters are about $100 each. I don't know what these other filters cost, but I'm sure they don't cost $100. They might cost $30 or $40. And we probably would change that twice a year. So my first step is to go ahead with the approval of Mark, is go ahead, get that new filter in, put it in place, and then retest. And then see if that takes care of the water system, the whole problem. If that doesn't, we may have to look at another system of, really, it's not a problem that we have with copper, it's the problem with the pH. So we've got to figure out how to get that pH raised a little bit, and then we should have no problem with the piping system. So by March, I should have all of that pretty much resolved and be able to report back to you that we've corrected the problem or we need to go an additional step.
Mark?
Yep.
You may know this, but Phil Lowe, that was his profession for years. Is he aware of this?
He is not right now. We're gonna try the filter first,
Right.
because I think the filter is gonna be a quick fix. And then we're gonna test. And I think it's important to know that our levels are so low. We're not, it's just a heads up, but there's nothing that's affecting the health of our kids at this time.
Okay.
But I am aware that Phil is there. We're gonna try these quick solutions first, and then we'll go to Phil if we have anything further to do. And yes, I am aware of that. That's good. And I'm putting a note in to follow up on this on our March meeting, just so you'll know.
Okay. Sounds good. And Wendy, Phil was very helpful when I first took over to kind of help me through the process of understanding what we have here for our water system. So he is a good resource.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I was just wondering, since he's on the operations committee, if maybe he was involved, but yeah.
Hasn't come up there yet. Bob, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bob. Sounds like all is going well.
All is going well.
Excellent.
Get rid of these.
Thank you very much for all your hard work. Chris, you are ready to give us a presentation via Zoom of pre-K through 2?
Oh, shoot.
Just Kay.
Oh, is this K?
Just me. It's all
Okay,
about me.
there we go. Then let us know what is going on in the kindergarten, please.
You should
Okay,
be
I
able to
actually-
share your screen, Chris.
Nope. Says host disabled participant screen sharing.
No, it says it right there, enabled.
I'm just telling you what my screen is telling me.
Hold on.
Let me share my screen.
All right, okay. Okay. Hold on, I will sign in. You can start talking if you would like.
Okay, let me see if well, things in kindergarten have actually been going very well. I can speak to all of those, our lovely pandemic rules and regulations and our distancing and our masking. I said before we even returned back in August that children are going to be far more adaptable than adults ever could be. And I proved that that was correct within the very first week of school. The students really, I hardly had to correct them. A lot of them had practiced wearing masks before they even came back to school. The distancing piece was harder for them, but they did pick it up. We used a lot of visual aids. It's nice that we have so many yardsticks and whatnot for our math programs. So we were laying those out all over the place. I got little Velcro dots to put, if anyone's peeked in my room, I have Velcro dots for lining up that stick really nicely to our carpet. So that aspect of it ended up being really, the kids did great with it and still continue to do really well with it. I just keep checking while she's working on it to see if I can show my, I'm gonna be sad if I can't share it.
Trying so hard.
I have to say I was really worried as to how I was going to even teach kindergarten with all of these things in place, because everything is so shared, and there are so many small groups and so much partner work. But we figured it out. It really has instilled, there are certain things, I like to find silver linings. I'm kind of the queen of silver linings when everything seems awful and terrible. But there are certain things that we had to do to our classrooms to make them COVID friendly. And one of the things that I did was they each have their own supply shelf now. And I think that's true for every classroom. But in having their own supply shelves, I found that the kids have gotten far more responsible and independent about taking care of their things. They have, a good number of them have the same set of markers they've had since September, and they still work. And I don't know if any of you realize what a big deal that is, but they realized that if you don't cap your marker, that's your marker, you're out, your pink is gone. So just little things like that I've noticed will probably stick around once we can loosen things up. So we have found some silver linings in it. How are we doing, Kirsten? Oh, things are happening on my side.
Okay, you can share it now?
Yes.
Good, because it won't let me share it on this computer. I'm using a student's computer, so.
Okay, let me get this into, I'm gonna move our heads over and everything. Okay. There we go. Might have to shimmy the people's heads out of the way, but or shrink it. Okay, so there we are, one of our first few days of school, all spaced out on the bleachers, trying to make it work, and they did. And I already talked about all of our things have worked out. We got outside a lot at the beginning of the year, and when the weather was still nice and delightful, we were all begging for it, really. Those extra tents were awesome to have for snacking, and I brought them out for a lot of math lessons in the afternoons for those extra, what do we call them? What do we call those? But those were really nice to have, and I'm hoping we can get those back up. I hope they didn't all blow away. And PE happened a lot outside too. That's at the bottom corner there. That's them having PE, and she took them out. She still takes them out if it's livable temperatures outside. So we've just been really trying to get a lot of fresh air into them, and they love it. They absolutely love it. New this year for everybody has been the second step social emotional learning program. And I think it's different for each grade level. I think it's really the kids are gobbling it up in the younger grades, and it's taking a little more work in the older grades to get some buy-in. But for kindergarten, they are absolutely loving this program, and I'm seeing a lot of follow through with their day-to-day behaviors. So what we're doing, they're explicit lessons that teach children how to identify and manage their emotions, which a lot of them are having more of those than usual, given all the things that have happened the past year. And learning how to be a thoughtful friend and classmate. And then for the younger grade levels, and even the older grade levels have quite a bit of, accompanying things, but we have a lot of music, very catchy tunes, by the way, movement activities, drawing, and the role playing they really get excited about. They have little scenarios that they have to act out. And then you can see in the bottom there, we have Puppy and Snail, who are puppets that they actually believed were living up until probably the second month of school. And they said, Mrs. Bennett, I think you're moving those. And then everyone was like, you've ruined my belief. And then we have Be Calm Bunny under there too. But they really, they buy into it, and they really do follow through with the things that the lessons teach them. So it is a daily lesson. Monday, we do a lengthier lesson that's basically like a full block, a learning block. And then Tuesday, if you see me shaking, it's really cold in my downstairs. My heat is broken down here. So I'm like, and then Tuesday through Friday are just little mini clips, mini lessons that keep them thinking about what the target is for the week. But they really do buy right into it, in my class anyways. Bikes, thank you, PTC. We have a variety of riding abilities in kindergarten. And so until, now it's a little cold, but to be having bare fingers and non-hatted heads, but we were using those bikes right up until the first snow. And we've got some without training wheels, some with training wheels, some on those little Strider bikes, but they are all really loving those. And they've been using those at PE as well, quite a bit. So happy faces. And then just a little, in case you're just not familiar with what kindergarten looks like, I just gave you a little snippet of our content areas. So during reading time, now that we're into it, we're really digging in. We do a reading workshop model, and we start with our read aloud and some whole group skills building with our phonemic awareness, with comprehension. We do some shared reading, so poetry, songs, things like that. And then we break into our centers where they're able to meet with me for guided reading. And then the rest of the children are independently working in their own groups on various things. Reading, as you know, is not just one thing. It takes a lot of practice in a variety of areas. So word work, they're really getting very crafty on their iPads, and we've been working very hard on getting them into the Raz Kids, which is a program we use school-wide, and the kids can now even take the quiz on their own at the end of reading and recording themselves. So that's really exciting in kindergarten that they can do that. That will be helpful if we do have to go remote for a longer period of time, because I will still be able to hear them read aloud from my laptop. Independent reading, sight word work. They've got quite a few sight words now. Writing, working on letters and sounds, and then retelling is really a big skill we work on in kindergarten. And I do have this little clip. I got permission from his mom to show this. So, I want to try to make it big, but you guys are blocking my, all the heads are in my way. Blow them up a little. There we go.
We can speak fast or slow. We can run. We can run. We can read. We can have fun.
Yay! Okay, so that was my little buddy. That's another little piece of our reading workshop. Oops, sorry. Trying to turn the page here. There we go. Our writing workshop is kind of run similarly. We follow a writer's workshop model. So I start out with a mini lesson and then send the children off to try it out on their own. Yes, you are seeing a spelling of underwear there. That was a follow-up from the creepy pair of underwear, which is a very popular story around Halloween time. And then they did a guided draw, and then I asked them to stretch the word underwear. So that was a popular lesson. They loved that. And then we often make time for sharing of their work with the class so that they can celebrate each other in their attempts, because writing is probably one of the things that kids are most nervous about, worrying about being exactly right. So we're kind of trying to untrain them from that so that they can then eventually make better spelling attempts and just go for it, and not have to worry about, help me spell, help me write. Math, I continue to use and love everyday math along with the rest of the school. I do use supplemental materials in certain areas, just depending on the class. This class is really, their readiness skills are very high. So I've had to just boost some of the lessons up a bit to meet them where they're at. But they've been really impressing me. And you can see on the little side there where they're all just dumped in the grass. They were actually doing a number hunt on license plates. So don't worry, I wasn't letting them roam in the parking lot, but they were sitting in the grass near the parking lot and checking out all the numbers on the license plates. And they thought that was the greatest thing they'd ever done. So let's see. And then we've still tried to, at first I wasn't sure how all the little fun things would still fit in. Of course, we would have invited families in a lot more. I wish we could, but we always do. I do an ABC boot camp at the beginning of the year just to give, to review for the kiddos who are really strong in alphabet, letters and sounds, and then also to boost the kids who are still, a little shaky. So at the end, we do a fashion show and I send these paper bags home, and the parents and families help them decorate their paper bag to go with their letter that they selected. And then they do a sassy walk down the runway. And before we couldn't anymore, we did head out into the nature trail. And the first time I took my whole class by myself out into the nature trail, I will say I was terrified, hoping I'd come back with all 14. And they were awesome. They have just been, you can tell they've been craving this kind of social activity, and they stuck together and stayed in their little line and made lots of neat observations. So we're really happy to have that nature trail to access. The Fall Fest was a lot of fun. It was not what we were hoping it to be outside, but we got a lot of comments, and this was again school-wide. The kids were exclaiming that it was the greatest day of their lives, even though they're really, we just did a few fun things in the gym and some fun activities. Grammy T came into my classroom And oh my goodness, she was a saint. She came into a lot of classrooms and got really painty, messy, but we were happy to have that help. And yeah, it was a great day. And I think the kids were just excited to have something to look forward to. So we need to keep putting some of those things into our days. And then it broke my heart. We always do a kindergarten Thanksgiving celebration for the families and invite a bunch of people. And we weren't able to do that obviously this year, but we still ended up doing a performance. We turned the book Sitting Down to Eat into we wrote a script for it, and we had to add some characters because obviously we have a lot of students, but they made their little hats and they practiced their lines, and we did quite a few rehearsals. And then they ended up acting it out for their families, and we sent those out via Seesaw and via email so that they could watch their little ones perform. And then this is my and when we have to go remote, I was talking about this a little earlier before we started, that I've gotten a lot of support from the families. I have had a huge return rate on the packets and work that I have sent home. And what's been really neat is that because we have our little communication tool that we've been using, Seesaw, they've been sending me even unsolicited video clips, kids asking me questions, pictures. We've had a lot of siblings jumping in because they just think that the activities look like a lot of fun. Older siblings, younger siblings. Doesn't matter. They've all been wanting to play along with the kindergarten at home packets. So that's been really fun to see. So it's not ideal, but it's I think because it's been shorter periods of time, there's been a big buy-in this time around and a lot of support. And then just a few extras and then I'm just about done. We still, I've had for years now, Nana Robin Gosby, who is our foster grandparent volunteer through Opportunity Alliance. And she has been with me. She's worked right in the classroom every morning, except for Wednesdays for years. And she wasn't able, they're not allowing volunteers to go into schools this year, but we felt we really had to keep including her because she means so much to the kids. And I knew she would mean so much to this class. So she still Zooms in with us every Friday and reads the children a book. She also picks up baggies. I leave some baggies for her to pick up, and she does classroom prep and activity prep for me. And we write letters to her once monthly. So we are doing a pen pal thing with her too. So we're able to still include her, and they very much know who she is. And every time she Zooms in, they spend a good 5 minutes just saying, we love you, Nana Robin. We hope we can see you soon. So it's just really sweet that we can keep that relationship going. I talked about getting outside a lot. I know recess has been one of those areas that we've been trying to increase. I'm a big fan of that. But now that it's getting colder, I'm still making sure they're getting a lot of movement breaks with Go Noodle. And Jack Hartman is a great movement guy. He's pretty funny if you ever look him up, Jack Hartman. But yeah, we're keeping the kids moving even when it is too cold to get outside. I touched on Seesaw as an information tool, and it's also not just a communication tool for parents, but it's also a great tool to use if we do end up going remote. I can post assignments there to my students. So that is, I'm going to definitely continue to use that. I know just about everyone, Kirsten, I don't know if everyone K-5 is using it, but I know several are. And that's it. I think that's it. So I'm going to stop my share. There. Any questions?
Thank you, Chris. Well done.
Fabulous.
It's always fun.
I think
That was really great to see that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Always fun to look in on kindergarten kids, right?
Well done, thank you.
What about the pre-K effect?
The pre-K effect, yes.
Ah,
So
that's
the funny thing I was
same
just
question
talking
I was
about.
gonna ask.
Thank you. I should have added that in. So I had a lot of wonders about my class is a busy class, and I know that they were, you know, a busy class in pre-K. But I was floored when we started school and they had to have the masks and they had to have the distancing and they had to do the sanitizing and the extra washing, how much they actually retained, even shutting down in March, with the little things that usually take me forever to teach, the routines, how to line up, how to wash your hands without having a water park, you know, little things like that that just take so long to teach. And I didn't have to teach it. They already knew it. They had retained it over that time, even though they hadn't been together all that time. So I was really able to hit the ground. Once I got all the pandemic stuff out of the way, I was able to get right started with the content. It was really incredible. So it did make a huge difference. I'm starting to have imposters behind me. They're wondering where their mother went. So yes, pre-K effect, double thumbs up, all the thumbs.
Well, worth the effort then.
Yeah, definitely.
Super. Makes us feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Your kids miss you.
Are you sending me on my way, Tina?
I am.
Wow. As much as I'd love to stay, they do need to get ready for bed. So I'm going to go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Chris.
Doesn't that make you feel good when you see all that good stuff happening?
That was fabulous.
Well, all the kids were smiling. That tells you something.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And they are a busy group. I've been in a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. And
More of that.
Okay, on to Superintendent's Report. Mark, you're on deck.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna say is I'm getting this weird message that my bandwidth is low. And so if you lose me, it's not because I'm doing it on purpose. So second quarter financial report. We sent all the financial reports to you guys, correct?
Yep.
Uh-oh. We got that? So just some of the highlights on that. You know, our cash is over 500,000, which is very good for this time of year. The annual salaries are already adjusted for summer. In other words, we're about 50% through the school year, so all the summer salaries have been encumbered. We received over $400,000 in title and grant money so far this year. And so when I look at the mid-year, is right now we have 56%. We have 56% left in our expenditure budget, and in a perfect situation, it would be 50. So like the way I look at it is we're 6% ahead of schedule right now, which translates to, you know, a good chunk. We don't know what's going to happen in the second half of the year, but a lot of our expenses are front loaded. So having a 6% cushion this time of year is very positive.
Mark, if you turn off your video, it might help with your bandwidth.
Thanks. And I look better too. Okay. So anyways, that's the second quarter financial. Susan did a page of notes at the end, which was very helpful. And we're having a meeting on February 18th to start our next budget process. We've got our 279, preliminary 279, how much money we're getting from the state. We finally got that today, and that's positive. We're scheduled right now to receive more than we received last year, which is very positive because there was some threats of budget cuts earlier. I'll just keep going.
Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So budget timeline, everybody got a copy of the budget timeline, I hope.
Yep.
And so the teachers have until February 5th to get me the information and physical plant requirements. And then we're going to meet on the 18th with the accountants in Falmouth to work out a first draft of the budget. The operations committee, gave me some information and some numbers, preliminary numbers to use for that. On the 23rd, we need to have a budget committee again. I believe last year it was Audrey and Joe. So
I would
we'll be
like to
look-
volunteer.
Okay, so we need 2 people, and our first meeting will be February 23rd at 5:30, one of those interim meetings from 5:30 to 6:30. So if we can get 2 people on that, great. Do you want to do that now, Tina?
Sure, if anybody wants to volunteer.
Donnell just did.
Okay.
Yep.
Joe, do you want to do it again? No?
I don't mind. If someone else would like a turn, that'd be okay, but I'd be okay with me.
Do we trust Joe?
That was sort of a yes, but a conditional.
I'm good with Joe doing it and Joe and Donnell.
Okay. Joe?
Joe and Donnell it is.
Yep.
And I will send you a reminder, but I'll try to remember to send a reminder. But it's right now, it's the 23rd at 5:30 for our first budget session on that.
Okay.
You're gonna be able to make 5:30 coming from work, Donnell?
Yeah, if it's a Tuesday, I get out at 4:30, so I should make that fine.
Okay,
And we'll send you a Zoom link. And let's
Okay,
keep it real simple, Joe. If you don't mind, we'll just do it by Zoom, or Joe, you can come into my office, whichever you do. I'm going to be doing it from the office that day. Well, I don't know if I'm going to do it from the office, because if we do the school committee full Zoom, that may be, there's no sense in me. I will let you know how we're going to run that meeting.
Yeah, well, just let me know how you want to do it. Either way, it's okay.
Okay, and then I'll let you know when we do some other stuff. That's almost
It-
a month away, so we can figure it out.
If we're Zooming, can you have Kathy send me through the mail the paperwork that I need so I can see what we're doing?
Yep,
Okay,
I got to
you.
remind myself to do that because Kathy, Donnell, info for budget. It's awful, but if I don't write it down. Okay, and the last thing on my report was for vaccine update. Boy, things have been all over the place. We have applied to be a vaccine, for lack of a better word, distributor, or just like we got the test kits early, we're also putting in all our paperwork, and we're going to jump through all the hoops, including buying a refrigerator that has to test at a certain degree consistency so we can store the vaccines. We're in line. I can't promise anything because everything changes almost every day. But if it comes to the point where we're vaccinating children, I think it would be a great community service if we could do it in-house, but that's going to be way down the line. We would never, ever do it without having you fully informed and having the parents fully informed. It's just like we sent out the paper for the testing. It's going to be clear, pre-approval, and call when the time comes, but that may be premature. I just wanted to tell you that we're on the track for that.
and Mark, that's just for the kids?
No, it's for everybody.
Kids and staff or community members?
Oh, that would not be open for community members.
Okay.
That
so
would
it's
all be
staff and
in-house,
students.
so we can maintain our isolation, you might say.
Okay,
But it's just, for teachers.
yeah.
That is so premature because things have changed so much. But we'll just keep that on the back burner. The point is, we are applying, we're aware of it. We want to be in line because it would be very cool if we could do our teachers and our kids in our own school and our own timeline. I think it would be convenient for parents also.
Where is the money coming for the special refrigerator?
Grant money,
Okay,
easy. That was the easy sell because it's directly related to COVID, to potential vaccines that are COVID related.
Um,
And it's not a big cost. Go ahead.
I think it sounds wonderful, but they're not even approving vaccines for kids yet under 16.
Oh, this
So,
is so way ahead, Wendy.
okay.
I
mean,
just
was
wanted
like,
to let you guys know that, like, we have to get certification, we have to have the fridge tested, and you have to test it for 30 days. We're just trying to line us up. But yeah, I'm 1BA or 1B2 or whatever. And because I'm 65 and, I can't even get it yet. So,
join the club.
yeah, 70, they went back. That's what I mean. I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is not something we're doing next week. That's for sure.
Well, but if you don't plan ahead, you're not gonna be ready when the time comes.
That's right. So that's it for me.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Mark, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kirsten, you're up, girl.
Okay. Mask off. All right, let's see. Recently, we had 2 positive cases. Transportation was not affected. The teachers in the affected classrooms worked from home for a week, managing remote learning. Other staff who were considered close contacts continued to work at school following the guidelines set by the state. Those guidelines included wearing a K95 mask and a face shield, eating lunch alone, only going from home to school to home during the 10-day quarantine period, and getting tested on day 7 at school. I would like to thank Chris Balchunas for coming in on her Saturday to help me with the whole process of notifying families and managing the data for the state. Unfortunately, we are getting good at this and have it down to a 3-hour process for one class. I would also like to thank all of our families for being very conscientious and only sending their children to school when they are 100% healthy. Since we now have early releases every Wednesday, we are exploring ways to capture more instructional time. So starting February 3rd, which is next Wednesday, we are no longer going to have lunch eaten at school. Instead, students' lunches will be bag lunches only for all students who want a lunch. Students will take their lunch home with them on the bus to eat at home. Students who would normally bring a lunch to school would simply eat when they get home. Doing this allows us to capture over an hour of time to be with students for learning. Lunches will be delivered to the classrooms just before they get on the bus. Students would still have a mid-morning snack in their classrooms. We have now used our Blizzard packs for 5 days, 2 days for when the whole school went remote just before Thanksgiving, and 3 were for storm-related issues. I talked with staff about how the packets were working, and we discussed continuing with the Blizzard packs, or if we should have a true snow day next time there was a storm, which would extend our days in June. We decided that it is more educationally beneficial to the students to continue with the Blizzard packs. On days when Blizzard packs are being used, teachers are available via email to their students and families from 8:30 to 3. Staff who have the soft phone app on their phones are also available by phone. Most of us set that up last spring with Avery. Families simply call the school, press their teacher's extension, and the call will then forward to their cell phone. This I know does actually work technologically. Teachers have shared this information with their students if they can be reached by phone. Hourly staff who don't work directly with students remotely will document what they did for work, professional development, working on a lesson. Bus drivers could be cleaning the buses, those kinds of things. So those are my comments.
Alrighty. And staff was quite, it was quite productive staff input about the Blizzard pack, discussing what are we going to do.
We did that whole discussion last Wednesday? Last Wednesday, yep. And we got a lot of input from the staff, and we discussed it, and that's what we determined was best for our kids.
Good. Thank you very much, Kirsten.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we're on to action items. Where are the? I want to go to the second read ones first, right?
No, you have a policy GAB, the job description.
All right, that's the first read. Okay, so if we look at the job description for I do not have that. Wait a minute. I gotta go to my other packet. Have you people got that, the job description?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. It's in my other packet. All right, is there anything we want to change on that or add to?
I feel we need to have a discussion about the fact that you guys want to create a new position of assistant superintendent. So I think maybe the discussion should happen before we do that.
I think what the discussion is going to be under action items, Donnell. This is simply the job description of what an assistant, school principal and assistant superintendent looks like. And then we'll hash it over at the action items, okay? This isn't, I think we can look at just the job description first to see what we're looking at.
Okay, well, on page 3,
Okay,
under terms of employment,
yes,
it's a 44-week contract.
yeah.
Salary and benefits as established by the school committee.
Mhm.
My feeling is that if we go in that direction, it creates a new position, which I know you told me there's no money involved this year, but in subsequent years, there may be money involved. And I do not think we are serving the townspeople of Sebago who are living hand to mouth right now by creating a new position.
Okay, can you bring that concern?
And
up
as a
again?
member of the town's budget committee, which you are as well, I don't think that ethically it's something we should be doing right now.
Can you hold that thought until we get to the action items?
I
And you'll
feel like we're going backwards, going at this
Well,
backwards.
I'm asking you, I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna cost any more money. Okay,
You don't know that down the road because you can't say that for down the road.
yes, I can.
No, are you going to be on the school committee forever? None of us are. We can't say things like that.
Donnell, all we can do is plan for the near future. And what I'm telling you right now is it's not gonna cost any more. I'm asking you to look at this job description just as a job description. Not thinking about what are we going to do.
Then I think
Job description.
as a job description, it should be stated in here that there is no salary or benefits for that position. For the position of assistant superintendent. That way
Also,
you could guarantee that.
Wendy?
well, also 44 weeks, that looks like a full-time position, I mean, an all year round thing. That doesn't sound like it's temporary. I was under the impression this was a temporary measure for just this half of the year.
We're going to get into that discussion when Mark gives his plan.
Well, I feel like,
I wanna
can I make a suggestion? This is, I think that Mark needs to give his plan first then, and then we'll talk about this because we're operating on what we can read. We have no idea what you're talking about.
I just was gonna say, let's table this for now. Okay? So put the job description aside. And let's get through these action items first. Then we'll come back. All right? So part B. All right, we're talking about, we're asking to nominate wanting to nominate Kirsten as the principal assistant superintendent for the remainder of the 2021 school year.
Tina,
What?
You're gonna table it, you need a motion and a second.
I can't hear you.
you need a motion and a second to table.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Okay, could I have a motion to table job description?
I move that we table A and B for right now.
One thing at a time.
All right, we're gonna, you're giving me a motion to table the job description. Could I have a second
Okay.
on that, please?
I move that we table the job description, which is A.
I'll second that.
Okay, Audrey seconds it. All those in favor? Joe,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes,
Donnell,
Yes.
Tina, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we tabled that one.
You know, I can move to the discussion item and just give everybody the big picture if you want.
All right, that's an adjustment to the agenda. Is everybody okay with that? I'm gonna make a motion that we change the order of the agenda so that Mark can explain his plan. Could I have a second on that?
I'll second that. Yep.
Okay. Roll call. Wendy,
yes,
Donnell,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tina, yes. Okay, Mark, you're on.
Okay. You know, we debated whether to do this in executive session, but I think it's important that we do it in a public session. And, but here's my thinking. Number one, I want to dial it back. I do not want to work 108 days anymore. So one of the thoughts we worked on that was if I dial back and I become like I work 54 days a year. And as far as the money, let's address that up front. The increase in salary for assistant superintendent principal is really in reality is going to give Kirsten the title and the right to sign documents in case I'm not there at school. Nothing's really going to change in the day-to-day operations of the school right now. She's getting a title that allows her to sign papers as the assistant superintendent, and she is certified with that, and she has that right to sign once she has the title of assistant superintendent. So this year, in reality, nothing's changed. You know, Kirsten and I have been working together for a whole year. I'm not going to give her extra duties. She's just going to be doing and completing the same duties she's done all along. And that is helping me run the district. And I think it's worthwhile to recognize that. And we're asking to give her the title this year with no additional funds. And honestly, I don't know about additional responsibility because she's, you know, I'm still going to be here full time for the rest of the year. 2, money. So if I go from 108 days as I have a contract for this year, and I have a contract next year for 108 days, I would like to dial my back to 54. That's going to free up certain amount of money that could be adjusted. So as far as the administrative cost, my whole goal has always been for school administration to be less than 4%, which is the recommended EPS number. So the total cost of the administration, as far as salaries and benefits go, will not go up because I don't take benefits. So it doesn't matter that I go half time, but I'm going to be making half the money. This is something we're talking about, and I'm going to ask that we form a committee to go ahead and explore this option. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. My thoughts are I want to dial it back. I want to go 54 days, half time, considering what I was doing before. The title, I believe next year, my recommendation would be to have Kirsten be the superintendent, and then I would take the responsibility as assistant superintendent. That's ultimately a board decision. Right now, I have a contract for 108 days next year. I'm willing to waive that contract and go to 54 days and then have less responsibility. And basically Kirsten would be in charge and I would be working for her, but I would certainly be there and a, consultant, assistant superintendent, whatever you want to call me. And then the next year after that, which we don't have a contract for, I would be interested in coming back in a limited basis consultant, whatever you and Kirsten would decide if that was the choice that we went with. So the impact, long-term, short-term is zero money. The the deal for next year is, I think we have enough. I think we have, this is something we're going to have to negotiate. But I think there's not going to be 1 penny of extra cost because our benefits are already covered. I don't take benefits. Kirsten's are already in her contract. So it's just a matter of transferring money from the superintendent. Well, it's actually going to stay in the superintendent line. Basically, it's money that's going to Kirsten and away from me. And I'm fine with that.
So Mark,
Yep. Just let me
if
finish
you
one
have,
thought.
we have a contract.
Go ahead.
If you have a contract with us for this year and for next year for 108 days, correct? Then isn't it that we expect that you would honor that contract and not, and this, because that wouldn't be honoring the contract if you're only going half time from that.
Right from day one, right? I've been pretty honest about contracts with you guys. What can I say, Wendy? I don't want to work 108 days anymore. I'm getting worn out. I'm getting tired. And I don't feel good. I got tons of medical issues. I just don't want to work 108 days. Now, I'm giving up the contract. I certainly know that I could do 108 days because I have a contract for it. I'm just thinking at some point, I'm gonna be done. And when you're done, I think this is an opportunity to transition into someone in a position that's to someone I believe has earned the right to that position. However, the next step with this is to form a committee and then do an interview process and figure out what we want to do. Do we want to open it up and post it online? That's a possibility. Or the other possibility is to just post it in-house. But as far as me honoring the contract, not happening. Right. And, if I have a gun in my head, something happens to Kirsten, I'm fine with coming back. But at this point in my life, I just want to have a little less responsibility. If you guys are more comfortable with me being the superintendent for another year, that's a decision the school boards are going to make. But I think we're proved that we're a team, and I think there's a possibility of doing this right and then challenging and changing so that we have a long-term transition plan in place for administration.
My question is, why are we just hearing this now? We just found this out whenever we had the agendas emailed to us, which was only a couple of days ago.
Yep. What I did is I called the vice chair and the chairman and let them know what my plans were. And then I put it on the agenda for today. And today's the day we talk about it, right? I think, and the other thing, Donnell, to be perfectly honest with you, I had an email ready to go out, and at the end of, when everything was trying to finish the grants and everything, I just forgot to send it out to give you more of a heads up. I think we fixed that problem, which I understand is a weakness and always has been, is that from in the future, whenever I send something to Joe and used to be Audrey, it's Joe and Tina, I think I'm just going to copy everybody. So whether it's just like we have our little meetings 1 week before the scheduled school board meeting where we set the agenda, and that's where it was discussed, put it on the agenda, let's talk now.
Yeah, because when I asked Tina, I asked you about this, because I had a feeling. You said Mark had 2.5 more years. That was your email to me. Now,
Yeah.
that's not 2.5 years at all. That's what, this year and next? That's not even 2 years. I don't understand.
Okay, there are things that when we talk, when Joe and I, as the chair and the co-chair, talk with the superintendent and Kirsten, I don't feel I'm at liberty to say everything to everybody. I'm not. There are things like, Wendy,
You did not tell me the truth in your email. You said it was 2.5 years. Mark has 2.5 more years, and now that's not what it is.
listen to me. He has the half a year this year. He has all of next year
Yeah.
and the next year.
No, I
He is a
don't have the
consultant.
next year, Tina.
No, he doesn't.
No, I just
Okay,
have
then I
a year and a
screwed up.
half left on
Okay.
the contract.
I'm sorry. I did
All
not
right.
do that
That's
intentionally.
why I didn't know, because you
Okay.
told me 2.5 and he just said it was 1.5 years. So that's
Yeah.
why I asked.
Nope, I apologize. I was not trying to throw you off.
No, I understand, but this is the problem. And I'm going to say it right now, is that, and I asked you this today, Tina, when we make a decision, who are we? Because there's a lot of us right here that are totally in the dark and left out. And then we find out after the staff knows and other people know, and we're like reading this, not knowing what's going on. And then bam, here it is.
Mhm.
And I think that the communication has been abysmal. And, if there are 5 committee members, there are 5 committee members that need to be part of this. Okay, I know we are now, but, we had no idea. From last Friday on to now, it's been a big fat mess, in my opinion.
Okay.
Also, in our manual, which you and I, Tina, we go back and reread that thing all the time.
Yeah.
In our manual, there's supposed to be no surprises. No surprises. I call this a surprise. When the agenda doesn't come out until, what day did we actually get it? It came out, I think, Thursday night. I read it on Friday.
Yeah.
So what's that, 4 days before a meeting, which to me is far too late. So maybe we need to look at that process too.
Okay. But you've all pulled surprises at meetings. Okay, nobody's pearly white here. How soon would you like to have the agenda prior to the meeting?
A week ahead would be great, because
Okay.
that way it gives us time.
So if we meet 2 weeks ahead and we set the agenda so that you get it a week ahead, things may change. That's why we do it the week ahead, so that we
Right.
get everything as close to the meeting as possible.
I don't think it's just the agenda either. I mean, a staff meeting was held with everybody in the school about this situation, and we weren't even made aware, and we're the ones that need to vote on this.
That was that meeting, the staff was told at that meeting because it was convenient on that Wednesday for the staff, because then the staff wouldn't get it until the next week. Now, Mark said that just a minute, Wendy. Mark said that he screwed up. He didn't send the email out to you. So that one's on Mark.
I'll take that.
I'm not dumping on you, Mark, but you said
it's
you were
good.
going to send that out and you lost it.
Yep, and
And
I
here,
just
you
didn't
people
do
have
it.
a right to be upset.
This is the most important thing right now that's happening. That's happened, probably one of the most important things in the time that we've been together as a school department. And the fact that we did not know before the personnel is a very big mistake. Now, come on, if you want us to take everything seriously, we need to be taken seriously as well, as a group, all 5 of us.
All right. Are you all willing to assume your fair share of responsibility for being on the school committee?
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is we all make mistakes. Are you willing to assume that you've made mistakes, as have I, as have Mark and everybody else, since we started?
Mistakes have
You
nothing
can't
to do
beat a
with
dead-
it, Tina.
Like Donnell, there's no point in beating a dead horse to death. Mark screwed up, you didn't get the information, you're upset about it. Okay, done is done. What are we gonna do about it? Keep it marked to do better for communication.
Can I
How
say
about a
something?
discussion about this issue?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
that
what?
was-
And when I asked about it, we weren't told. We were not given the facts until just now.
What-
Why weren't we told before this? When I even talked to you, Tina, twice on the phone. Why
Wendy,
wouldn't
there
you
are-
tell me the truth?
Because there are things that I am told that do not feel I'm at liberty to share with the school, all of the school committee members. There are
But
individuals.
we're all on the board. We're all part of the committee. Why don't you feel you can share stuff with us? That we're part of that process.
Okay, Mark and Kirsten, there are things we discuss that we feel should not be spread to the whole committee. Do you want to stop talking to me like that? So that I'm therefore
With that.
innocent? I don't know what to tell you.
If
I
it's
know.
something that ends up on an agenda, then it's something that concerns all 5 members of the committee.
Donnell,
That's all.
Mark.
That's all I'm saying.
He didn't send out the email. How can you undo that? You can be ticked off about it, but you can't undo it. I didn't feel I was at liberty to tell you what Mark's plan was.
Tina, when I talked to you about it on Saturday, you could have called Mark or said to Mark, hey, Mark, I think you need to send an email out to everybody. Now, you knew we hadn't heard. It could have, this is the thing. Yes, of course, we all make mistakes and Mark forgot to send the email. I get it. But when I talked to you about it on Saturday, you didn't tell me the story. You weren't transparent. And all you had to do is have Mark send out the email to us so that we would have known before now.
Okay.
I mean, really.
Joe, you're
So,
muted.
what's Joe saying?
I don't think he's talking to us.
Oh. Audrey, what's your thought on it?
I think that we should talk more about what this looks like and go back to the discussion itself. I kind of feel like adding a new position of assistant superintendent doesn't make sense for such a small district when we have a superintendent. I guess I just need more clarification of why we would add another position when if our superintendent isn't able to fulfill what he needs to do, then maybe we need to find a superintendent. No offense, Mark.
No offense, buddy, none taken.
And there are ways to manage, like if something needs to be signed off on, if the only reason this is happening, that something needs to be signed off on. So maybe that's not the case, but that's what, Tina told all of us was it was just so, things that needed to be signed off on could happen. That's something that can be fixed in other ways.
You see how with Mark's plan of the
It
transition,
might be prudent for us to just move onward with what other things we can do, okay, and finish the list at the moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
wait a minute, Joe.
the discussions that I have heard, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
The discussions that I heard weren't making any commitments. They were making some suggestions. That's the way I was viewing it. So we're coming to have a discussion of basically what structure would be required to make those adjustments if we chose to. That's where we are at the moment.
But it's on the agenda to vote.
The way this is structured, the way I perceive that is that basically we're not creating 2 new jobs. We're basically giving the principals some additional authority and then creating some room to make some, I'll call it, structural changes at some point in the future. And at some point in the future, Mark is no longer going to be our superintendent. And he has a contract for next year, but let's just say that he's not leaving us in the lurch. He's basically trying to ease the thought process that at some point in time, he's not going to be our superintendent. So I think it's a good thing to have a discussion about this, but why don't we move on with the rest of the action items, and we can decide how we want to handle this in a different format, like a discussion with Mark about his contract.
Okay, Mark's got something he wants to say, Joe.
Yeah, I agree with everything Joe just said. Nothing is set in stone, right? But I think what we should do is table the two action items, A and B, for the next month's meeting, right? And then form a committee, a personnel committee, to explore the administration moving forward and a possible transition plan of the administration. And then that committee can have a discussion about whether you want to open up the superintendent job full-time, or do you want to do an assistant, or do you want me to be the superintendent next year with an assistant? I think we open that discussion, and we have you have two choices. If you all want to be involved, then what we could do is call a special meeting for only this purpose. And we can do it that way, or we can do it, what we usually do is pick two people and then have that of the discussion. I think with the depth of questioning right now, it may be better to have a special meeting where we can talk about this in detail. The thing is, why did I tell staff so early? It was because it was the last time I was going to see staff for a while. And there'd already been some discussion and rumors of people asking me what I was going to do next year. I did not want them to learn as a result of the agenda coming out. And my error was not filling all of you in. But, at that point, I think I'm going to fix that by, instead of having discussions, I don't know how to do that. Audrey, you were part of that. Remember, we used to just meet and make stuff up and put it on the agenda, right? But the time to discuss stuff is at a meeting like this. And that's why I didn't want it in an executive session. Because technically it could have been an executive session because it involves my contract. So I'm thinking we should have a special meeting to discuss this, or you guys go ahead and pick two for, like we always did, two people committee.
I love the idea of a special meeting. I think that this needs to have a lot of discussion. I think what floored me was that this isn't just an agenda item for a discussion. This is agenda item that
She froze. She did.
I thought it was just a discussion item.
It's under action items.
But all that one was for Kirsten to be the assistant principal superintendent for the remainder of this school year, period.
I think that should be tabled.
I think it should, and I like
should
the
be tabled.
idea of a special meeting.
I do too.
I agree with that too.
I agree as well.
All right, Joe? Special meeting?
That'd be fine.
Okay. So we'll set up a date for a special meeting. I would ask everybody to do their homework. Okay, check into systems that have superintendent principals. There are several in the state. So that you can see what those look like. And to try to have as open a mind as you can. Is that fair?
And maybe check into other things as well, other structures.
Other structures if you so choose.
There's no decisions that have to be made at this special meeting. It's just a way of getting us in a room together and then sharing thoughts.
Yep.
And I would ask that meeting be via Zoom so that we can all see one another and talk clearly.
And not broadcasted.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
doesn't it have to be broadcasted?
What?
Tina,
We need a motion to table the discussion?
9B.
9B.
I'll make a motion to table it.
I second it.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to table action items A, B, A and B. All those in favor, Joe,
Yes,
Audrey,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Donnell,
Yes.
Tina, yes. Okay. And then we'll set a date for a special meeting.
While we're all here, would like 6 o'clock on the 9th work? Or do you want less time, more time? That'll be halfway between the meetings.
Is that a Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
6 o'clock on the 9th.
Yeah, that's just a suggestion.
Works for me.
That's fine for me.
Wait a minute. That's the 9th of February? Yeah, okay.
yeah, that's the same day that we have, basically, there's a planning meeting before each school board meeting in which the agenda is structured.
Yeah.
So,
And what I'm hearing, Joe, is that what we have to do is when we have that meeting, we have to get the agenda out the next day, because that's the only way. So I think we could still have the meeting at 1, right? And
That's
then we
correct.
can adjust it as needed as a result of the special meeting, and then get the agenda out early on Wednesday to give you the full week heads up.
You'll end up having 2 weeks because the next meeting's on the 23rd. Because
That's correct.
the week of the 15th is vacation.
So is the 9th still good? And basically,
Yeah, it's okay with me. Yeah, I'm just,
it's gonna be 2 Zoom meetings for you that day, Joe.
well, there'll be 2 meetings. We'll figure out what they are.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'll add that to the calendar.
all right. Okay. So, back to action items. Okay.
Can I make the motion?
Sure.
Reason I thought Kirsten already was the Title IX coordinator.
Me too.
Well, we're combining both, the affirmative action officer and Title IX. We're doing it because of the policies that we
that's
had.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So I move that we designate and authorize Kirsten Goff to be our affirmative action officer and Title IX coordinator.
I second it.
That. Oh.
Okay, first by Donnell, second by Audrey or Wendy?
Pick one, Hunter.
Take your pick.
Wendy, you just seconded it.
Hold on.
Okay, all those in favor, Donnell,
Tina,
Yes.
Tina,
Wendy,
can you stop?
Yes.
Tina? Sorry, I have a member of the audience who wants to comment.
okay?
So
Before we-
you
we
have to
gotta-
come up here. I'll move. You take off your mask.
Always forget to do that comment in between.
Yep,
Okay, I just feel that in light of A and B, I'd like to know what's going to happen in the chain of command because of action A and B. I feel that if Kirsten is the school principal, the superintendent, and the affirmative action officer, if a staff member, say it's me, I have a problem with the principal. Well, then I go to the superintendent, but the superintendent is the principal. Then I feel the affirmative action person is going to be the kind of like the Supreme Court, which is going to be like an arbitrator or something like that. So that's the same person. That means I don't have anywhere to go except out.
I have those same concerns.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Can I address that?
And I've got that up.
Hold
So,
on.
Kirsten, I know,
Let's
Kirsten.
change seats. Can I address that?
Because I brought that concern up too.
Okay, so in the case of me being the principal and the affirmative action officer, if there is a complaint, affirmative action or Title IX wise against me, it goes to the superintendent. If in the future, the school committee decides that next year they would like me to be the principal and superintendent, if there were an affirmative action or Title IX claim against me, that claim would go to the school board. If I were the principal superintendent for next year, I would not be the Title IX affirmative action officer. It would be another staff member that would be that person. That would be a conflict of interest, and that is something that I had thought about. I couldn't be both. I can't do it all. As much as I try, I can't do it all. So I would not, if I were to be the principal and superintendent for next year or any future year, I would not be the affirmative action officer, Title IX coordinator. That would be somebody else. That's the only thing that makes sense.
So this motion for this year works if we do something different next year.
Makes sense. Thanks for clarifying.
Correct.
That work?
Yes.
This is
So-
just for the school
good.
year, for the remainder of this school year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or until something changes.
Okay.
This motion and this second will work.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so we've had it moved and seconded to designate Kirsten for this year. Donnell,
Yes.
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes,
Joe? Tina? Yes. So it's a unanimous decision. Under the policies for second read,
You could do those all at once if you wanted to.
okay to do them all at once,
Sure.
folks?
Yes.
The second
Okay.
read, yeah.
So we've got 1 through 5, 6. Actually, there's 7 of them because where does that come in? Okay. Job description is the second read. Oh, I see, because one of policies. Okay, so under policies 1 through 6, could I have a motion to accept the second
So
read?
moved.
Donnell's got it. I'll second it.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Okay, Wendy,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Donnell. Tina, yes. Unanimous decision. Under the job description for affirmative officer, action officer and Title IX coordinator, could I have a motion to pass that job
So
description?
moved.
Wendy, first,
I'll second it.
Second.
okay, Chair, Audrey, get in ahead of you. Okay. All right. All those, let's see.
Yes.
Joe. Wendy.
Yes.
Donnell,
Yes.
Yes.
Audrey, Tina. Yes, whoop, I'm waiting for somebody to answer. That's me. Okay, so that's a unanimous decision. Now, under the first reads. The first one is the LAU plan. I had some questions on that. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything, any input in that?
It seemed like it was a lot of legalese.
Oh, there was a lot in there for that, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know who the ELL teacher was.
Do we have
ELL teacher is, our ELL teacher is Leslie Hirschlag. And she's been our teacher consultant for, well, ever since we started, but even prior to that, she was the ELL consultant for Lake Region as well.
Okay. And we must have an LAC committee, right? Which would consist of the ELL teacher, the classroom teacher and administrator and family.
Yep,
So we have it, and how many children do we have, Kirsten?
3.
3. What's oh, maybe you can't say that. Okay,
We have a variety of languages.
okay. Now, the other thing I have is, what is level 4.5 on the test that they give the kids to see of English proficiency? Is that grade 4, month 5? No.
It's a score. So it's a score of 4.5, not a grade.
Out of what?
I believe it's 6.
What is the reading level? Isn't it 6 something for reading, to be proficient in reading for kids to reach to the 6th grade level or something?
This score is scaled by age. So you can come in as an ELL student in kindergarten and test out in 2nd grade because you've gotten a 4.5. You can come in as an ELL student in 5th grade, and you might be an ELL student until 10th grade before you're a 4.5. And so it's scaled according to their age and what the rough age skill set should be for their age.
Okay.
So the 4.5 is different at each grade level. Yeah.
But that means their comprehension, their ability to read and to write?
It's vocabulary, it's speaking, it's reading, it's writing, it's a whole battery. In fact, our ELL teacher right now is coming and testing. They come every Wednesday, at winter, usually in January, February. And she is coming and testing these kids over a span of what, three days? Yeah, roughly 3 days. And it's quick hits. It's an hour or 2 at a time.
Yeah.
So that the kids aren't, testing all day long.
Right. Okay, I needed to know what that level was. And then have we ever had on page 5, the second from the bottom paragraph, if the parent or guardian declines services, have we ever been in that situation? I mean, do we just go along and do the same thing anyway without putting it on the record?
We would put it on the record that the parent declined the recommendation. When we get
we still are responsible for providing an education
without using the ELL teacher to provide direct services. Not that we couldn't consult with them and say, hey, give me some ideas of what I could do to help.
Yeah.
But it's not formal.
Okay, all right. I just needed to know that. I think that was all. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Those were my concerns. Anybody have any others? All right.
Not on that one. Nope.
Could I have a motion then to accept this the first read of the LAU plan?
So moved.
Okay, Donnell moved it.
Second it.
Wendy seconded it. Let's go call the roll. Joe?
Yes.
Tina? Yes. Donnell?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous that we accept the LAU plan. Did anybody figure out what the LAU was? I was trying to figure out Language United.
It was the name in a lawsuit. That's what, if you read through that,
Yeah,
I found it.
did. Well, that's where I found it.
Yeah, it's the name in a lawsuit, but I don't know. I think it's somebody's name.
It is.
LAU.
Yeah. But I'm trying to figure out all the acronyms. What does it say? Okay, next
I
one.
was too, but then they had the definitions.
Yeah. Okay. And now the sexual discrimination, harassment, and Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedures. Did you read through that? Any addition, questions, omissions? Do I get a motion to accept it?
Hold on. Well, the one thing in here, two things. I found two things.
Okay.
One is until we have our discussion at our special meeting, I don't think assistant superintendent should be a part of either one of these two policies until we have that discussion and we make a determination on where we're going. Okay? Because on page 12 of the student one, right at the top,
I don't
it
have
says,
it on page 12.
oh, the decision maker shall be the assistant superintendent or the superintendent, whichever is not the Title IX coordinator.
Wait a minute, what page, what are you on, Donnell?
I'm on whatever Kathy sent me. I'm on
Yeah.
student discrimination / harassment and Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedures.
Mhm.
ACAA-R, and it's quite a long one. It's
This
15 pages.
Really? I've got a 2-page one.
Oh, that's all you have? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a pink one that's 15 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, then give it to me. What do you got? It says assistant superintendent, so we should table it because it has the assistant superintendent in there?
Well, I think that until that gets figured out, either take the words out or, and do a first read or table it, because that's something that we're going to be discussing.
Well, if we meet the 9th, that would be before the next meeting, right? I mean.
Yep.
So then we'll know what title we want to put in there. So maybe we should table it and then it would be a first read with the right terminology put in.
Okay.
I mean, it may well be assistant superintendent, it may be, the rooster on the fence, I don't know.
And then down below in a different paragraph, and it says this in both, and I didn't dig out my dictionary, which I should have. It says, the decision maker shall review the investigation report, the parties' responses, and other relevant materials, applying the preponderance of the evidence standard. Then it says the lowest standard of proof is known as preponderance. Is that a spelling error or is that an actual word? Because the sentence prior says preponderance, and then in the following sentence it says preponderance.
Houston is saying, yes, it's a spelling error.
Yeah, it should be
Spelling error.
preponderance, yeah.
Okay. All right, and so that's the same in both the student and the employee policy.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah. I think that's it.
All right, then could I have a motion to table these two? Kirsten, that's not gonna mess up anything you have to do, is it?
No.
No.
No, that's good.
I think that the second policy, the FC-ACAB, that's the 2-page policy. That one doesn't have that language in it. I think it's just the ACAA policy.
The ACAB-R does have the same terminology in it as far as assistant superintendent or superintendent, as well as the.
Oh, okay.
I have
I make
two
a motion.
policies with 15 pages.
Yeah.
I don't have a 2-page policy.
Which one do you have, Audrey?
Well, there's the ACAB and then the ACAA one. The two are on the list for tonight.
Yeah,
But if the language isn't both, I'll make a motion to table both of those policies until next meeting.
I'll second it.
okay. Let's call
Tina,
the roll then.
did you take notes so we can give that to Kathy to,
I've
so that she'll
got
have
it marked. I can
information?
give it to her.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Joe, it's been moved and seconded that we table these two items.
Okay,
Yay. Audrey,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes,
Danelle,
Yes,
Tina, yes. Okay, so we've tabled that. We have already gone under discussion items and we have arrived at a special meeting on the 9th at 6 o'clock, right?
Correct.
And since
Okay.
that is a special meeting, I'll put it on the school public calendar with the Zoom link. We'll set it up like we've got it now. And anybody can join in because it'll be all 5 of you.
Say that again, it will what?
It'll be a public meeting because there's all
Okay.
5 of you there.
Yeah.
So it'll be a Zoom meeting. I'll set it up as a Zoom or a YouTube whenever. I'll have to make sure that Avery has it all set up one way or the other.
Yeah, because you were put in an awful position tonight, Kirsten. Okay, so you'll take care of that with Avery?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is
just
anybody
a
in the public?
last thought with that.
oh,
Are we sure this is not something like an executive session because we're going to be discussing marked contract?
I was wondering the same thing.
I'm uncomfortable with it being a public meeting because we're gonna be discussing personnel.
We will set it up that way.
All right, I'd like to have that as an executive session. I make a motion that we're gonna make that an executive session meeting.
But you can't have an executive session meeting. You can have an open meeting and then vote to go into executive session to
During
discuss
that meeting,
individual
okay.
contracts.
Okay, then set it up as a public meeting, Kirsten, please, and we will open the meeting and then go into executive session. And then we'll come back out to a public meeting.
Perfect.
Life is so simple.
If it's special, it's only one topic, so that would work.
Yeah, it's contract.
right. Tina, one of the, I requested that we talk about having Zoom meetings in the future. That was part of what my request for the discussion.
Yep. Okay, yes, Wendy. And Chris also I think maybe she covered hers. Okay. Wendy is requesting that all of our meetings be Zoom meetings from here on out until this crisis is over or we get vaccinated, correct, Wendy?
Yes, and the reason I do it is just for the obvious reasons that we all experienced tonight, how difficult it is when some of us are doing Zoom and then others are in the cafeteria. It just doesn't translate at all very well. It's nothing against anyone, but I just think we should all be able to hear one another and see one another and know what's happening so that it's a clearer communication.
Okay, anybody else want to chime in?
I tend to agree with that because for me, I was sitting here shouting at my phone when you guys were in the cafeteria because I don't know what you can hear from me. And I know I couldn't hear you or Joe. It just. It's
Only because it gives parents and other community members an opportunity to join multiple ways. I think with the right technology, which it sounds like hopefully that will be tomorrow, unfortunately wasn't tonight, but I think with the right technology, it gives more people an opportunity to join. I do wonder about, like, instead of having the YouTube and Zoom, maybe just having the Zoom and the live, like, I don't know how to make that easier for people, but
There is a
a Zoom feature, I did check with Avery on this, does cost money because it's an upgraded account on Zoom.
Right.
I believe that there is a feature on Zoom that if you pay for it, you can broadcast live and record it, and it's just Zoom for everybody. So I can look into how much that costs.
I'd be curious. I feel like that's an option for, to help get more people.
I think that it's important that the public can attend. So if we could do something like that, that would be ideal. Because I think that it's essential that the school committee is able to communicate and hear one another to make decisions. It can't, and we don't hear what's going on, so that everybody's, happy and people have communicated.
Yeah, but what's the advantage of having the both? Why not just stick with Zoom? If we're gonna pay a fee to be able to do everything that you could with YouTube.
No, that's what I meant, is whatever you can do. If you can do a Zoom session for all of us and have that on YouTube, in other words, so people, the public can see it. Is that correct? Am I making sense?
You're missing what's been said. Okay.
No, what it is that when you record a Zoom meeting, tonight I recorded this meeting via Zoom.
Okay.
It will download to this computer, then I have to upload it to YouTube, and people can watch it after the fact.
Okay.
In the future, if we pay for it, I believe Zoom has the feature to record and broadcast live to whoever signs in.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
The town of Sebago, Kirsten, the town of Sebago paid for a Zoom account, and we've been doing that with the budget committee. So they might be able to give you that info.
I don't think it's an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
No.
I can check with Michelle.
Okay. Joe, is there something you wanted to add?
No, that's fine. Whatever way works, I can go with either way. And as much as possible, I try to do things on a belly to belly basis.
And I think you all know my attitude. I mean, I like it person to person. I feel some of you disagree with me, but I feel like I'm supporting the teachers. I expect the teachers to be here to teach the students. And therefore, I try to do my part by being here as I expect them to. So, but that is and I like being in person a lot better than I do on the
I like to be in
computer screen.
person too. I don't like to be on a computer screen. If I were given the option and we weren't going through a pandemic right now, I would be all for being together. But I think we have to keep everybody's needs and personal, safety in mind. This is a unique situation.
And we're respecting your choice, Wendy. But
no, I'm asking it not to be my choice, it to be the choice of the board to have Zoom meetings for everyone.
Make a suggestion?
Yep.
Let's try this. We're going to have just a really brief meeting that's going to be executive session. Let's give the technology one more shot. And if it's not absolutely perfect, I would suggest that perhaps we go to straight Zoom and then find a way to upgrade our Zoom capabilities so that we could broadcast and let other people in.
Is that fair?
Sure.
Give it a try and see what it is.
It'd be a good meeting to try it too, since it's going to be small anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything, under information items, Kathy Harmon has submitted her intent to retire, which just clears her to see if she decides she wants to in June. She can do it. So she sent her letter of intent in. Doesn't necessarily mean she has to, but she's left that option open for herself. And who was going to the MSAD 61 board meeting? I've got my list at home. Did you tune one in, Donnell?
I am signed up for the March meeting.
Yeah, March, okay.
It was supposed to be me.
Yeah,
Didn't happen. I apologize.
okay. We've all screwed up tonight, so let's go. for it.
We'll add
Hey,
it to
is
the list.
61
Screw ups.
doing remote or are they doing just Zoom? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're.
I think
I
they're,
think
I think they're only broadcasting via Zoom.
Okay.
they're meeting in person, but I don't think it's open to the public. I think
Why don't we find out?
Tina, did you want to have public comments on non-agenda items?
There's nobody on the public. Anybody? Oh, I'm sorry. We have
Did you have, I thought I heard you say something.
Chris, we addressed Chris's concern, right?
I think so. Okay.
Isn't Mandy Dearborn in our Zoom? Is she?
She's asked some questions in the chat. She just asked about how remote students are using Zoom.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
And then she's commented that a full school membership seems like a good idea, even for remote student recording would be a good feature to have for recap.
Okay. Wendy, do you know anybody on the 61 board to call and check about whether they're meeting and whether the public goes to their meetings or not?
Did you ask me that?
Yes.
No.
I do.
On the school board and would
So you
ask,
know
yeah, I
somebody,
don't know
Audrey?
anybody.
It's telling me my
Yes.
internet connection is unstable.
Yep.
Okay,
Turn the video off, it fixes it immediately.
During my life.
so you can let us know at that meeting
Thank
on
you,
the
Mandy.
9th?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, and I will watch the recorded one, and we can touch base on that as well.
Okay, very good. And what is it? It's the second meeting of the month.
Usually,
Beg your pardon?
usually it does change.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't have it in front of me, but I printed out their schedule, so.
yeah, I think.
Thank you.
23rd, as is the budget committee. That's information. And our next meeting is February 23rd.
No, yeah. But our special meeting is the 9th, right?
The
Right.
9th at 6 o'clock,
Right.
okay? So do some research, find out some answers. And bring it all to the meeting.
Someone,
Okay? Motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Donnell, thank you. My battery's getting low, even with my bed connection. I need a,
Second,
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second, Wendy. All those in favor, Tina, yes. Donnell,
yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Be safe. Yep.